today's topic is, you all would have gone through the reading material. It is lab and fun activities in mathematics. Although we have got to a rocky start, today's topic is fun activities in mathematics. So I think we all agree that children learn very well when the atmosphere is very informal and very relaxed. So even we as adults perform our best when we are put in a informal and relaxed situation, when we don't have external pressure on us to perform. So, so as students, their learning capacity is more in a very relaxed environment. So as maths teachers, how can we provide education and get our learning outcomes through fun activities, which will enable a very positive learning environment when the children are involved in doing in a very relaxed manner. Apart from the teacher-centric method, the new pedagogy in mathematics is the mathematics laboratory method. So we all know this has been there in science for a very long time. When we were in school also, we used to have labs only for science. So lab itself meant it is only for science, but now the teaching pedagogy is through mathematics laboratory, where a lab is there for students to explore the concepts of mathematics. So as we all know, the concept in mathematics is very abstract, more abstract than science. Of course, science, they can all see, feel, they would have seen all those in their surroundings. But when it comes to mathematics, it is all abstract. So here, the pedagogy focuses on having a mathematics lab so that the children can do and learn, which is also the basis of experiential learning. So mathematics laboratory method is used as a pedagogy to teach mathematics. So here children work in small groups. Of course, we have a math lab in our school where we have small tables around which maximum 4 or 5 students sit together. It is an informal and friendly setup to discuss math concepts among peers. So they will have, we will make 4 or 5 children sit together in a group and then give them an activity, and they will discuss the concept on what to do, how it is to be done among their peers, and then learn from each other. This is the most important part of the pedagogy through mathematics laboratory method. And use of materials of their own choice to find solution or to understand a problem. So they handle materials, as we say, manipulatives, to understand the abstract concept. So next, so moving on to the second, next slide, mathematics laboratory. I think people who don't have a math lab also, I mean, you need not worry. You can make a group of children around a table in your own class and give them materials to perform the activity and convert your own classroom into a math lab. So it is only less.
Go in for expensive kits.
Yes.
We don't advise that also. We need not use expensive kits that are available in the market. We can go for simple kits, very simple kits. For example, for making a bundle of 10, we can ask the children themselves to bring ice cream sticks, make 10 ice cream sticks, make it into a bundle. So that becomes a bundle of 10, which represents 110. So that's a very simple way. Use flashcards for making numbers. In that itself, you can form numerals, then expanded form, go in for 100, 300, 400, like that, number card separately, and 10, 20, 30 separately, and 0 to 9 separately. Beautifully, we can do expanded form. We can do comparison, greater than, lesser than. We can find the greatest number, smallest number. Then we can do ascending order, descending order. Then we can do addition and subtraction also using the small kits what we have. This bundles, if you make, it will represent tens. And small, the same sticks which are in loose will represent ones, that is units place. And the same if you want to make it as a, children are very, very good in artwork. With that ice cream sticks, they form a slab which contains 100. So that represents one slab represents 100. So there are a lot of things which we can experiment. And for measuring cups, we can use a small mug, a bucket, a tumbler, a bottle. All these are non-standard. Some of them are standard units. In fact, when we say bottles and all, we get 1 liter bottle, we get 750 ml bottle, we get buckets of different sizes. So small things which are available amongst us itself can be used as a kit in the math lab. These are all simple things which I'm just explaining. And of course, for shapes, they themselves can cut the chart papers into different shapes, keep it in the maths lab, arrange them one on the top of the other, arrive at what is the shape they get, is it a solid shape or a plain shape again, trace the solid shapes, trace the matchbox and find out, or trace the dice and find out, or trace the cup and find out what is the shape they get. All these are experiential learning, of course, which can be done in the maths lab, because in the classroom, we may not be comfortable to use all these kits, because children with their bags, their lunch bags, with their books and all those things, they get diverted. Whereas when we make them into small groups and we ask them to work in groups with one particular topic, where the classroom is free of books, lunch bag, water bottle, all these things, and they come into that atmosphere of working in groups, it is definitely a fun, and they also learn a lot when they do it in that way. Of course, fun learning is also a very important tool for gaining knowledge in that particular concept or whatever it may be. That adds the value to the knowledge that they gain. Yes, ma'am.
The next slide,
The cognitive skills, the affective skills, the 3 domains which we were psychomotor skills, all skills are developed in the maths lab. If you see, when they start working in the small groups, they need to adjust. They need to help each other. They need to mingle with everybody, and they need to make others also comfortable working with them. So there they learn how to adjust with the peers. And if she is not able to bring something, if that particular child has, just share it among the groups and they work together, or in turns they take up the chance to work on that particular kit. So here all the 3 domains, the psychomotor, of course, they use their hands, their brain, their eyes, everything, all the sensory organs are involved when they use the kit. They touch, they feel everything. So all the 3 domains are here laid foundation when they work in the maths lab. Definitely you will feel the difference when they work in the maths lab. They come out with a lot of beautiful results which we wouldn't have expected. If it is done in this way, what could be the result? If it is not done in this way, what could be the result? Why can't it be done in this way? So they start exploring a lot. So let us give room for children to explore. So Maths Lab is one such place where the children equip their skills and develop their knowledge in that particular subject, be it a math lab or any lab. But math lab is a place which is very important for them to explore. Yes, ma'am.
So mathematics laboratory, as ma'am said, is a place to experiment and explore the concepts by themselves. It's a place where they learn to develop an interest in mathematics. So when we teach them to trace a matchbox and find out it is a rectangle, when we teach them to trace a dice and see it's a square, obviously they go home and they imagine all the objects around them and see and just wonder what would they get if they trace all of them. What would be the top view of this object? What is the side view of this object? So all those critical thinking skills are enhanced in the child's mind. So it definitely develops the interest in mathematics. So as teachers, we must provide engaging activities to different levels of individuals. So we have high achievers and slow learners in the class. So when we go to a maths laboratory, we are free to give engaging activities according to their skills. So or if we want to make it a heterogeneous group, then definitely the slow learners will be benefited from the high achievers. So normally one more most advantage is the children are able to spot the mistakes of others. So that is also a very important quality. Like when a friend is drawing a rectangle like a square, then a child would say this doesn't look like a rectangle because it looks like all four sides are equal. So the ability to spot mistakes and learn from them is also happens in mathematics laboratory. Otherwise, in a classroom setup, the children are not exposed to the work of other children. So when they see the work of other children in the mathematics laboratory, then they learn from others' mistakes. If the other child does very well, then from that also the child is benefited. And then to accept mathematical truths only on the basis of doing. So it is not only when the teacher says the cube has all sides equal. When you trace a cube, you get a square. So all those
Yesterday,
concepts.
yes, ma'am. Namaste.
Yes, ma'am.
Yesterday, we gave an example. Make a rectangle using using squares. Yes, that was the question given yesterday. Make rectangle using squares. So in the maths lab, no, they have the small kits of square, rectangle, triangle, everything. So when they join two squares, first initially they may not be able to do that, but when they join two squares, they find that it is a rectangle. They find it is a rectangle, and if you keep adding the squares horizontally, which is adjacent to each other, they get a rectangle. So by experience, again in the maths lab, it is experiential learning only, no doubt about it. But they do that lab to gain the in-depth knowledge about that particular concept. So imagining how could two squares make a rectangle, that visualizing may not be easy for all. And why not it be a square? And suppose if I join four squares, if I don't mention anything, what will you get if you join four squares? So if I join four squares adjacent to each other, I may get a rectangle. But if I join four squares in a different way, I may get again a square. So these are the different ways in which they explore. You give the open-ended question. You give open-ended questions like this. Don't mention whether it is adjacent or opposite or touching the corners. Don't mention anything. So they try to explore so many ways and they arrive at very good results. So when you arrange it in an adjacent order, you get a different shape. When you arrange it one above the other and some adjacent to each other in a different way, you get again a different shape. So these are the ways in which they explore. So give room for children to explore. This is the main thing. And as ma'am has suggested, it is not a place to assess students' knowledge of mathematics. We are not going to sit and assess what they have gained in the classroom, what the teacher has taught in the classroom. Let the children perform here. No. It should be a place to expose their knowledge beyond the curriculum. They have taught only shapes, but using the shapes, what are they going to experiment in that and come out with what is the outcome of gaining the knowledge about the shapes? That is more important. Everybody can teach shapes. Everybody will tell what are the shapes that they have learned. What is beyond that? Where am I going to use these shapes? What are the different ways in which I can represent these shapes? What are the beautiful designs I can create with these shapes? And where am I using these shapes in real situations? Around the classroom, in the maths lab, what am I going to do using these shapes? These are the these are the ways to explore about that particular concept. So that is not a place to assess. We are not going to assess what the teacher has taught inside the classroom. So that is the place. We are going to give room for the children to go beyond the curriculum and explore. So please don't restrict or don't confine only with the topic whatever you have taught. If they are going to come out with beautiful results, try to accept that, and you share that with the others who have not explored that also. Give room for that also. Many a times we see teachers, we don't have the patience. What we do is, yes, it is good. That's all. With one word, we keep a full stop to what has been explored by that particular child. Rather, if you ask her to explain that to the other children, we will know on what idea she has done it. And when she shares her knowledge or her exploration or her experimentation with the peers, they start exploring on that. They start thinking over in a different concept, that particular topic itself. So there is a chance and there is a way to share the knowledge. That is very important. So sharing takes place there. Sharing of knowledge takes place there. Yes, ma'am. We can go to the next slide.
Yes, ma'am. It must be a place to expose students' knowledge of mathematics beyond the curriculum. So next, next
here ma'am has listed what are the different ways and sections we can use the mathematical lab. Is it only the kids? Not necessary. Now we are all tech savvy. After the COVID, teachers and students, all of them have become tech savvy, and they know how to use the technology in gaining knowledge and how to set up a math lab using the technological part of it also. So involves, if you ask children, they'll come out with wonders and wonders. So computer part of it, that is here she has just mentioned computer section. We can go for technical puzzles, technical projects, technical ways of questioning. All these can also become a part of mathematics lab. So that is one part. If you have a big screen in the mathematics lab, this of course can be done. Or if not, give a small, a project where children will explore that, and if they have that system at home, of course all of them have system at home, let them try that in their system, then come out with beautiful results, what the teacher expects, and even more what the teacher expects. Then comes math puzzles and games. Like maths lab means it's not only the concept based addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. Yes, it can be fun. It can be always fun. Because children love games and puzzles. They love games and puzzles. It's not only that they play games and live it, but at the end of it, they would have gained some knowledge, like to improvise their skills. That is very, very important. If they have to develop their particular skill, it is this puzzles and games which gives an added advantage for them come up with beautiful results. It is actually an added tool, I would say. Now coming to the aptitude section. These puzzles and games can be conducted by the teacher initially. Later on, children themselves start making puzzles. They themselves start playing games. They come out with different games. If you give them one particular topic, they come up with different games. So initially, just the teacher may give a start with simple puzzles and games. Later, it can be developed into a puzzle and game which is of higher order. That's what I would say. Initially, it may be up to the lower achievers also, but later it can be made as higher order also, because puzzles and games, it should not be very simple. Initially, it should be simple for them to get interest in doing that, but later you have to increase the order of it. That is very important. Then aptitude section. So what is the aptitude section of it? What is the aptitude section? Is there any idea?
Aptitude is something which is internally there.
Yes, ma'am. Right.
Mental maths.
Yes, something like mental math. So it need not be a direct question. It need not be a direct question saying like I had 2 + 5, 7 + 3, like that. It can be a section where it involves lot of mental ability, creative thinking, all the skills that we discussed in our previous sessions. All skills that the child has to acquire in that particular subtopic or the topic. Usually we don't go in for the topic because that is very difficult for us to cover in one particular maths lab period. That is not possible at all. We take one subtopic and in that we start doing that. It is very difficult, as I would say, I won't advise any of you to go for the topic itself. We have lot of subtopics. Suppose if you take numbers, that we have lot of subtopics. Numbers, number names, comparison, ordering, then greatest to smallest, building numbers, so many things. So going for aptitude sections, develop their mental ability in the maths lab. Maths lab is a very good space for them to develop their mental skills. A library. I don't know how many of you would agree to this. Of course, a maths lab should contain lot of books related to the topics what they are learning. Right from class 1 to a lot of topics which are overlapping. So it should contain a library section. It should be the math lab should have a part of a library also where we can give children what to say a reading space. It could be a reading space. It can contain books of great mathematicians, Vedic maths, ancient maths, puzzles, games books involved in maths, mental ability books. Then for children who love to work on pictures, that should also be there. For when you talk about first standard children, if the book is entirely with numbers, that's all, they throw the book and run away. That is already there in their maths book. So it should have a mixture of books, because all children are not of the same level. Their interests are also different. So we have to provide books in the library which will motivate them to develop interest in working towards the subject. Because many a times we feel and we hear people saying, maths is a boring subject and it is a very tough subject. But maths, they will say, even if the maths teachers are also looked upon like that only. The moment you say you are a maths teacher, maths teachers, they try to maintain a distance as if the moment they come in contact with the maths teacher, she's going to throw some questions in maths. It's not like that. So children should, in the formative years, if you make maths learning a fun and enjoyable, definitely they will not feel it as a burden when they go to the higher classes, because the concepts are built strong here. So they can work on the concepts, that's all. They have to just work on the concepts at just a bit higher level, that's all. So please make math learning a fun, and this mathematical lab should provide room for all these sections, puzzles and games section, aptitude sections, and library sections. Of course, the kids, whatever we provide should be appropriate for that particular level. That is also very important. The kids, what we provide should match the age of the children. We cannot, just because we are not having a particular kid which will be suiting for class 5, and if you give the kid to the 5th standard, definitely they will throw it away and they'll become fed up working on it because they find it too easy. It should not be too easy nor too difficult. So please keep that also in. Yes, ma'am. Next slide. We can go to the next slide. So here we are just discussing about the computer section, how it could be. That's what I have already said. Computer apps increases the mind speed level. It improves the thinking power and speed of mental arithmetic. And it also increases concentration and logical thinking. So the games and the puzzles and whatever it is, even if it is going to be some other question, it definitely, this is an added tool for them to develop their logical thinking, and of course they need lot of concentration if they have to work on the computer part of it, that is technological part of it. Yes ma'am. Next. Next is math puzzles games section. Why should this be given importance? Here, as I already discussed, all the three domains are developed here. Many puzzle activities develop hand-eye coordination. So because when they work on the kit, I think you all would have observed, their eyes are totally concentrated on the kit, what they are having in the hand, and it is hand and eye which coordinates. Of course, here we can say them, the sensory skills are also developed, the touch and feel, how it has to be done, the gross motor skills and the fine motor skills, everything is fine-tuned here. So definitely this is one of the factors which will develop their critical thinking also. Yes. Next one. Next one is the aptitude section, which we have discussed it just now. It enables her to apply the knowledge. So how are we going to test the child is good at mental ability, or whether the child has good logical reasoning, or whether the child is having good analytical skills, or the child is going to have a good critical skills, whatever it is. This aptitude section enables the learner to apply their knowledge. So this section creates utmost interest in mathematics. This is one of the main tool which we would say which creates interest in mathematics. Make the students perform well in competitive exams as they grow older. Because whatever I discussed now, all these skills are very, very important. Once they reach their adult stage, they have to face these type of questions when they take up any competitive exams for that matter. So all these skills, logical thinking, analytical thinking, mental ability, critical thinking, all these skills are very important if they have to crack any competitive exams. So give them a space for learning all these things without knowing that we are building their, building a career for them in their future. We need not explicitly say, okay, these are the skills you're going to learn. Not at all necessary. If you're going to tell a second standard child you're going to develop logical reasoning, maybe wonder what is it. Not at all necessary. We need not say that she is going to develop logical reasoning, she is going to develop analytical skills. All these are new words and are very difficult terms for small children to understand. Rather, without knowing what they are getting, all these have to be induced to the children's brain through the aptitude section, to the computer section, through the puzzles and games, whatever we are doing. And that is why we say in the maths book should, earlier in our session also we saw this, isn't it, Shobna ma'am? What
Yes,
a maths book should contain.
Yes, ma'am.
It should not be only exercise examples. It should not be at all. We are not for it. In our days and all, I don't think we have experiential learning. We had all these fun learning. We had activities. I don't remember doing all these things. It was a book full of numbers and concepts only.
Question.
That's all. That's all. Questions, 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 questions. So now the system has changed, and we also have to adapt ourselves to the new system. So change according to the changing times. That is what is expected from the maths teacher and even from the other teachers. That's all. So let us learn from what, let us learn and let us also adapt ourselves to the changing times. Next is the library section. So I was discussing why is a library important in the maths lab. Why is it so important? So it inculcates reading habits in students. Independent thinking. See, here we have mentioned it as independent thinking because each child works on a different topic. Each child works on a different topic in a different way. So their thinking is also different. They are not working in groups. When it is working with the kit, it is working in groups. But when they are getting into the library part of it, each one picks up a different book. Not that all children go in for the same book and they do group study. It is not like that at all. So each child likes to pick a different book. So they work on that book and their thinking also becomes independent. Now, next one is promotes self-study. Once they develop the interest in reading those books, they develop self-study habits. Next time onwards, even if it is not a maths lab period, during their free periods, during their lunch, during their break, they visit the maths lab to explore different books. They would like to explore different books. Next is learn different problem solving techniques. So when they go into all these books and when they study those books, they arrive at different techniques. See, the teacher may give only one technique, but supposing if it is a maze, for example, I think all of you would have seen children working in different styles to solve the maze. Am I right, teachers? Not all children do it in the same way. Have you noticed that? Supposing if it is a maze, if you closely observe, not all children start from the starting point. There are children who start from the end point to reach at the starting point. Have you observed that? Children who think in a very different way. So this is a place where they try to solve the problems using different techniques, and that is where they explore, oh, the sum can also be solved in this way. So next one is make students open-minded.
நம்ம பர்சலாம் ஒன்றும் எடுக்கலையா நம்ம பர்சலாம்?
Yes, ma'am. Shanmugapriya ma'am, you want to say something? Ma'am, you want to say something? Okay, we'll continue, ma'am. Yes. So children are becoming open-minded in the maths lab in solving the problem. So what are the different ways they can solve the problems, and why it is called open-minded means when they share that particular technique with the other children. So this is my technique of solving this maze. If you look at other child, she may have a different technique to solve the same maze. And there is this another child who is solving in her own way. So they try to accept all the different techniques and they see which is very comfortable for them, and finally which is very easier to adapt. That is very important. Not only comfortable, which is easier to adapt and which is a quicker way to solve the maze. Ultimately, that is what is required. So which is the simplest and the quickest way to solve the problem. So these are the things that they develop in the library section. So now let's go for the next one. So this is need and purpose of a math lab. So why should we need a math lab, and why should we create one in our school? I think we have discussed all these things. Anyway, I'll brief it out. Internalize the basic mathematical concepts. So this is the place where we can explore the basic mathematical concept that was taught in the classroom. There it would have been only a simple way like teacher writing it on the blackboard, children copying it in the notebook or working out the same in their notebook, not beyond that. Here they work on the concepts in the individual manner. Next one is to discover several geometrical properties and facts using models or by paper cutting and folding techniques. So if you allow the children to do all these things in the classroom, it will definitely become a messy classroom only. At the end of the period, no other teacher would like to enter the classroom because the class will be littered with full of papers and whatnot it is, models and this and that. So here in the math lab, it is a place where it is entirely devoted for them to experiment. So they work on different geometrical properties. Geometrical properties, of course, are given due importance in the math lab because that is a place where they learn more about the properties and the facts about the shapes and the patterns that they are learning. Next one is to build interest and confidence in learning the subject by promoting individual participation and peer discussion. So it is not only working in groups, it is also individual participation. So each one works in their own way and arrive at the solution. At the same time, it is the place where they also work in small groups and they come to the conclusion or they present their project or their activity. Next one is it encourages students to think and assimilate the concepts. So they think on the concepts, then they finally assimilate the concepts and arrive at a conclusion. They sum up the concepts, whatever they have learned in the classroom, it comes into shape only in the MATLAB. Next one, it enables the teacher to demonstrate, explain, and reinforce the mathematical concepts. So here, whatever was done in the classroom gains its shape in the mathematics lab. The teacher is able to demonstrate. Demonstrate here is with real life examples, explain it even more better, and reinforce. Of course, it can be a recapitulation of the topic what was done in the classroom.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Shall I continue or you are able to see the slide?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You want to continue? We'll continue.
Yes, ma'am. Shall I continue, ma'am?
Yes, ma'am. Sure, sure.
So next slide, teacher. Activities in the MATLAB. So it is not that it is like a playground where we go and give any sort of activity. It must include a lot of planning because all the children are going to be in groups and already they will be excited and a lot of commotion will be there. So lot of clarity in what is the activity that is going to be done in the MATLAB in that particular session must be there for the teachers. So activities in the MATLAB, teachers aim in the MATLAB activity is to achieve the learning outcome. So this activity, what is the learning outcome that a teacher is expecting the student to achieve through this activity? That must be the main core of the activity, and the teacher must plan the activity towards that learning outcome. Useful learning activities are ones where the student apply the learned concept. So we cannot give an activity in which the student has to apply a concept that she does not know, that we are yet to cover in the class. So the activities will only be useful if it is a further extension of the concepts that she has learned in the classroom. What the student does is more important in the MATLAB than what the teacher does. So more often, as ma'am said, there are so many groups there and we want each group to finish it fast because we have only one period. So by the time they assemble and they get a grasp of the activity, what needs to be done, sometimes as teachers, what we do, we go and help them and we do almost 80% of the job and then kind of finish it and then come. So it should never be done in a MATLAB. So MATLAB is a place where what the student does is more important. Even if she does 50% of the work, 60% of the work, it gives her some clarity or some procedural experience on how the concept is being used there. So MATLAB is a place where the teacher must take a step behind and do more watching instead of more teaching and helping. So, and every activity should be intentional and meaningful, and it should not be repetitive. So you take the children for the MATLAB on the next MATLAB period, and if you give the same activity, obviously the children are going to be bored and they will say, ma'am, we've already done this before. So let us not take children for granted, give them meaningful activities that are not repetitive, and ensure student development and advancement through the unit. So all these activities, when must ensure that the understanding of the concept is done and the child understand the concept better when we cover advanced topics in that unit. Engage students to develop their skills in different ways. Of course, as ma'am said, all the psychomotor skills, their communication skills, life skills, everything must be given an opportunity to be developed in the math lab. And engage students in active, constructive ways of learning. So we all, when children are in groups, we always see some fighting, some people not sharing, and although some negativity also comes into play when there is a loose structure like group sitting and learning. So as teachers, we must always make sure that is an active and constructive environment where students will learn.
At the
So
end of the period, they must have learned something. Not
yes,
that
ma'am.
they just came to the classroom or the math lab, they just sat for 40 minutes. Then, like as usual, they got up from the place and went away. That's all. It should not be there. At the end of the period, they should have gained something. What is that they have gained is very important. Something it should be constructed. Something related to what she has already learned and inside the classroom, that has to be laid foundation here.
So next slide, we'll have a few examples, a few fun activities. So first fun activities, as we saw the other day, as linking, maths can always be interdisciplinary. So as maths teachers, we never see mathematics as an interdisciplinary subject. We see it only with numbers, and children also tend to see it only with numbers because they don't see numbers in any other subject. They don't see the use of English and science in mathematics. So as maths teachers, if we could give them a project or if we could give them a math lab on which they can interlink all these subjects and make it interdisciplinary, they will really enjoy. So here there is a poem about alligator. So I think when we are teaching them lesser than and greater than, we always make a small drama in the class, making a tall student standing there and a short student standing next to each other, and the student in the middle is the crocodile, and we say the crocodile is very hungry. So this is a very small cake and this is a very big cake. So what do you tend to eat when you're very hungry? Then the children say the big cake. And so the child who's acting as the alligator goes and claps her hand and acts as if she's
It
eating
is
the
like this.
taller girl. So
It is like this.
and so this way, the child understands the lesser than and the greater than symbol, and always remembers that the mouth of the alligator is always towards the bigger number. So even when they come to 4th standard and 5th standard, when we ask them to compare fractions, compare decimals, and put the sign, some children are able to understand which is smaller and which is bigger, but the sign they will definitely confuse if you just keep on repeating that. If you put it this side, it's lesser than. If you put it like this, it's greater than. So instead of that, you teach them through a story, they will
Yes.
definitely remember. So
And like as I suggested also, like when you have flashcards on either side, two children having flashcards,
yes, ma'am.
is called, and she has to point the hand facing the broader part towards the bigger number. So that is always there. So this can also be a simple activity. They love doing that. And what happens is the children who are holding the cards, so at a time 3 children are involved. In a class of 40, it is not easy to give chance to everybody. So at a time 3 children are involved. So like that, we give chance for all the children in that particular period. So that is also very important. We have to occupy every one of them. We cannot just leave some of them and engage only few children in the maths lab. Please teachers keep that also in mind.
Yes, ma'am. So they can write small
And
poems.
go to the previous one. Go to the previous one.
Yes, ma'am.
Here the solid figures. Actually, it is a very nice poem written. Solid figures are fat, not flat. So they should understand this, because many times children confuse this bangle and ball for solid shape and plane shape. We have seen that in many cases. And of course, a cone and a triangle. So for an example of a triangle, they write cone. They write a piece of watermelon. They write sandwich. they write part of piece. All these are solid things which they don't understand. It is not a plane shape. Only the face of it is plain. Very important to know that, because this part of it is very important when they grow up and come up to 8th or 9th. This solid shapes geometry part is more in the portions than the numerical part of it. So this is very important that they have to understand which is flat and which is solid shape. A sphere is like a bouncing ball. A prism is like a building tall. A cylinder is like a can you pop. A cube is like the dice you draw. Solid figures are here and there. Solid figures are everywhere. So this is author is unknown, but actually the first line is very important. Solid figures are fat and not flat. So as soon as they see the flat, they should understand that they are plain figures. Yes, ma'am. We can.
Yes, ma'am. So you can encourage them to write a poem about fractions, because there you have rhyming words, numerator, denominator. So you, as ma'am said, you will be surprised as they come up with different kinds of lines using fractions. A poem using decimals. It need not be with all the 16 lines or something like that. A 4-line poem you can ask them to write and come at home and then come and read in the class. Maybe first 10 roll numbers can read one day. You can keep it like that instead of wasting an entire period on that. So all these things really make maths so much fun. So this is from one of our publications. This is for class 1. Find the number names and the numbers below and color them.
Just a minute, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
It is the next slide, am I right?
Yes, ma'am. Next one, puzzles. So next one is puzzles.
Yes, ma'am. This is the puzzle.
Yes, ma'am. So this is from our publication, and this is, as we say, it is interdisciplinary. It links English and mathematics. Find the number names of the numbers below and color them in the grid. So they have to know the number name, the sequence of the alphabets, and then find them and then color it in the grid. So puzzles like this also can, instead of asking the child to write the number name from 1 to 10, instead of giving it like this, if you can give it like a puzzle like this, the child will be really interested to do it and then color the number name. And she also learns the number name, because she has to find it and then color it. She ends up learning the number name as well. And for odd and even numbers, you can give the grid activity in which they have to color. So instead of asking them what concept they would use to find odd and even numbers, this is a coloring activity. They will enjoy doing it, and then they compare it with their peers also using the colors. They see the pattern, like 3 red boxes, 2 green boxes. They see the pattern, and seeing the pattern itself, they will be able to find out whether they have colored it correctly or wrong. So this is an activity for odd and even numbers. And here, and maths crossword. So crossword need not always be only in English. We can also have math crossword puzzles. So they all learn how to do this across, down. By giving different numbers, they come to understand how to use a crossword. So whenever they are traveling or somewhere, they find a crossword in a newspaper. Even if it is not mathematics, they will open the crossword and they will try to do it, and they end up learning something. So this we can give them a lot of maths crossword. It is easy for teachers to create as well, just having few numbers common. And
this crossword can not only for basic operations, it can be extended to anything, because they usually solving the crossword puzzle is a very interesting activity even for the adults, for that matter. And some Sudokus can also be introduced here. As I suggested in our publications, we have introduced Sudoku for class 3 itself. Of course, Sudoku, improves lot of thinking skills. It improves lot of thinking skills. Of course, they should know like how to solve that in a very quick way, and also in the simplest way that they have to identify. There are a lot of sudokus involving only odd and even numbers, sudokus involving a 9 by 9 grid, or sudokus involving 5 by 5. There are a lot of sudokus. Go from the simplest to the tougher ones. That also could be a part of math lab activity. So these are not only fun activities, but at the same time, it is also knowledgeable activities.
So next slide, hands-on activity using abacus. So MATLAB definitely has an abacus. So here we have an abacus for class 5 children. They represent the numbers in Indian system and international system, and they understand how to do it. They understand the place value, face value of larger numbers using abacus. So abacus is one of the basic manipulatives we use to teach children the concept of place value. So, and after doing it, they also note it down on their math lab. In our school, we have a notebook called as the math lab notebook with grids, and we have a few pages with dots and a few plain pages. So the children use the notebook accordingly for each activity. So this is the class 5 math lab notebook in which
ma'am, I would like to elaborate on this. See, when they do this math lab activity for abacus on large numbers, especially when they're going for 7 and 8 digit numbers, if you look at this activity, actually it is a very important activity where they learn how the numbers are read according to its period. That is very important. Why does period play a very important role in reading and writing numbers? They don't know why a comma has to come after each period. So here, when you look at it, when they are coloring also, the ones, tens and hundreds place is colored in the same color. So ones, tens and hundreds belong to one's period. Same way, thousands and 10,000s in the same color, lakhs and 10 lakhs in the same color, and crores and 10 crores in the same color. So here, when they do this in this way, if the child is not able to color it properly, suppose if you identify, if the child has colored it in a different way, and if the child is not able to understand the period, definitely the coloring also will not match. So if the coloring has been done correctly, then we can identify that the child has understood the period part of it. What does period mean, and why is it used to represent any number, and how are we going to read and write the numbers based on its period? Again, it can be done for the international system also, the ones period, the thousands period, and the millions period. So there again we lay emphasis on the topics that we have taught them using large numbers. So main thing is place value, face value, period, and number names and numerals. So all these are touched here. And of course, if you see expanded form and short form also, you can see 4 hundreds. So how many 4 hundreds means it is 4 beads that is put in the hundreds place. So 400. 6 ones. 6 beads are put in the units place. So it is 6 ones. So expanded form and short form is also done here. So all these concepts can be given to them in one tool. Abacus is a very important instrument, which I would like to say that all schools should have this tool in the beginning years of children. That is in the formative years. Of course, it is up to their level. When you talk about first standard, it should be only one sentence. When it comes to second standard, it should have a 3-digit abacus, ones, tens, and hundreds. Then third standard, ones, tens, hundreds, and thousands. And of course, fourth and fifth, you can go in for large numbers. Of course, fourth and fifth, you can have the same number of places. Doesn't mind, because when they come to fourth standard, they'll be able to judge what is a lakh, what is a 10,000 place. All these things they'll be able to easily identify. Once we teach them, they will develop on it. Ma'am, after lakh, it is 10 lakh only. No, ma'am. They themselves will ask. Even if you don't teach them 7-digit number, they will come up with that particular place. So hands-on activity using abacus is a very important activity for the first topic, introducing the numbers when it is in the lower classes and large numbers when it is for class 4 and 5. Yes,
Yes, ma'am. So the next slide is max, jokes, puns, proverbs, quotes. So as max teachers, as ma'am said, we need not be very snobbish and very boring personalities where, we come to the class, we teach only something that is very difficult for the child. The child, we need not be a person whom the child does not approach us for anything, or see us as some very serious character, isn't it? So only when we share the smile and happiness, and we show the child that we are also a fun character who are ready to laugh with them, will the child approach us. Because we always see the child has to like the teacher first, then only she ends up liking the subject. So let us also include some jokes, puns, proverbs. We can also ask the children. We can also encourage the children to, come up with a max joke, read somewhere and come up with the max joke, and come and ask in the class. So what did the triangle say to the circle? We can just ask when we are taking geometry. It said you are pointless. Then we can have us, laugh it around in the class, which will bring so much cheer and positivity. And once you tell one joke, you will be surprised to see how many jokes the children are coming up with, connected to the concept of mathematics. So what is the max teacher's favorite kind of tree? Geometry. This one actually a child asked me, ma'am, I know what is your favorite tree. We have a large banyan tree in school. So I was like, is it the banyan tree in the school? She said, no, ma'am, it will be geometry. Then I said, no, it's not geometry. Then what is it, ma'am? No, ma'am, it's a joke because you're max teacher. I said it's geometry. I said, no, I'm a max teacher, so I like symmetry. She said, yes, ma'am, that's a good one. So all these small exchanges, so the child also learned something symmetry is there, I will be learning later in max. So all these fun conversations with the child, which the child will remember and make her more interesting to learn in mathematics, is definitely we should have all this in the class. So why if in second grade you can ask children, why was 6 afraid of 7? Because 7, 8, 9. So actually they say 7, 8, 9, ATE. So that's what is the meaning, and they'll all be like, ma'am, how can you say that? So all these things which makes the class more
actually, when we write it as EIGHT, it may not be easy for us to understand. But when you say that, no, 7, 8, 9, so they will understand that.
So we can say, when we say 7, 8, 9, it sounded like a homonym or a homophone. There are concepts like that in English where the words have different spellings, but they are pronounced the same. So using this concept, I told like this, so the child will be interested to find out how many more words are there which have different spelling, but are pronounced the same, which is a concept in English. So all these intermingling of concepts can also be used by mathematics teachers. And write a small mathematics proverb.
A slogan, a proverb.
Slogan in
You
the
can
class.
put that in the maths lab. You can ask children to write, and you can display that in the maths lab. These can also be used as a decorative piece in the maths lab. At the same time, like small placards, a small, a piece of drawing, or something like small cards or small posters, which will create lot of interest.
And also bring mathematics close to their life, and they need not see that all these number business is only something which which will be done in the school. So all these things which are takes the mathematics very close to their hearts, and they really enjoy the class. Yes, ma'am. Next slide.
Actually, when we are talking about this, actually here it is the music of the reason. She has mentioned it in a different angle. But I would like to share that in our in-house publication, we have related music as one of the arts. In the arts integrated learning, we have
Yes, ma'am.
maths with music. If
Yes, ma'am. I showed them the example that day, that double swara.
yes, ma'am.
Yes, I showed him, ma'am. I wasn't able to explain much because I'm very poor in music, but anyways, I just showed them the example.
Teachers, you will not believe that in our higher classes, in our school itself, children, of course, they did relate math with music, and they did a beautiful project. I'm talking about class 7 and 8. No, sorry, not 7, 8. It was a very beautiful project which came out very successfully. Children were able to relate that swaras, that 7 swaras, with math, and how is it formed, and how each swara is having its mathematics behind it. So it was a very beautiful exploration by children. That's why we tell always children to explore it in a different angle. So maths, of course, without maths, there is no subject. So we can proudly say that maths is the subject which integrates all the other subjects.